failing to properly package your cards could burn up all your profits. But have no fear, because today I'll be taking you through my TCGplayer shipping masterclass, which will give you the superpowers to avoid refunds. Most of the time. Hey there, Harley here with HD Cards and Collectibles, back with another Business Talk Tuesday. In today's video, I'll walk you through my shipping supplies, some alternatives you can use, and lastly, I'll show you step by step exactly how I package orders to get feedback like this. So with all that said, let's get into it. Before we get started, I figured it'd only be fair to tell you that my shipping method is just a culmination of all the information I found here on YouTube. Creators like TCG Bulk Kings, RNG Games, and Game Vitamins all have great shipping tutorials, and I've taken bits and pieces from each of those to make it my own. We'll kick things off by reviewing the supplies I use to ship my TCGplayer orders. Now, you probably already have this first supply if you've been collecting cards at all. Penny sleeves are an affordable yet fantastic way to protect your cards from scratches. And I already had penny sleeves before I started my business, but when I started it, I went ahead and bought 10,000 penny sleeves for $56.99 on Amazon. The next very important shipping supply I use on pretty much every TCGplayer order are TC Guardian shipping protectors. These little craft cardboard protectors offer your cards extra rigidity without the chance of breaking like a top loader. I've had 84 orders on TCGplayer so far, and these protectors have kept all of them safe. I got 1,800 TC Guardian classic protectors for $138 from their website when I first started my business. But great news is I recently got an affiliate deal with them, so I can offer you 5% off your order if you use the link down in the description. I would just like to add here that I was a huge fan of the product before I became an affiliate, and they're not paying me to say any of this. Now we have these little sticker labels. I got 3,000 of them for $12.99 on Amazon. These are just for sealing the TC Guardian protectors that I just mentioned. Next we have team bags. I always ship orders with team bags, mostly because they add just a little bit of water protection and they make things look a little bit more professional. Plus, TCGplayer actually recommends using team bags, so that's a good sign right there. I purchased 2,000 BCW team bags from Amazon for $52.48. Now, I would have liked to have purchased them directly from the BCW website, but the shipping that they charge through their website would have made them much more expensive. The next thing I use are these A6 envelopes. I got 500 of them for $39.93 on Amazon, so they are a little bit more expensive than number 10 envelopes, but I'll get into why I chose them later. I also picked up bubble mailers for more expensive orders. I purchased 1,000 4x8 bubble mailers for $68.80 when I first started my business. And I recently purchased slightly larger 6x10 bubble mailers because I had an eBay order that arrived damaged when I shipped it with a top loader and a regular bubble mailer. So now when I have more expensive orders, I'll take the smaller bubble mailer and slip it inside the larger one. I got 100 of these 6x10 bubble mailers for $26.89. I needed them quickly, so I didn't buy the cheapest option. The very last supply I use for every order are thermal labels. I use these for shipping labels and for regular postage. I purchased 1,000 4x6 thermal labels from Amazon for $32.03. As you probably noticed, I got pretty much all of my supplies off Amazon. I did do some shopping around and some price comparison, but Amazon had pretty much the cheapest prices. That, coupled with the fact that I get a free Amazon Business Prime because of my personal Amazon Prime, it really did save me some money. Before we go over how I package things, let's review why I don't use number 10 envelopes or regular stamps for my orders. Alright, time to review the alternate shipping methods. We'll review them in order of least expensive in terms of startup cost to most expensive in terms of startup cost. The first, least expensive option is to use an inkjet printer, number 10 envelopes, and a return address stamp. An inexpensive HP brand inkjet printer will run you about $49.99 on Amazon on the low end. And a self-inking stamp will cost about $9.99. So altogether, your startup cost is $59.98 for the first option. For this method, most people will print out the packing slip, fold it up in a weird way, and then stuff it in a windowed envelope so that the shipping address is visible in the window. Then they'd stamp their return address in the upper left corner and place a physical forever stamp in the upper right corner. Now, doing all this just sounds like a ton of extra work, and all of that added time would definitely add up over hundreds of orders. But other than the time commitment, the main reason I don't do this method is because of the cost per order. If you factor in the printer paper, the ink used, the number 10 envelope, and the forever stamp, it comes out to a little over 94 cents per order, and that's before the rest of the shipping supplies. So if you only charge 99-cent shipping, you're pretty much at a loss. The next method, which is the one I use, is a thermal printer, A6 envelope, and thermal label. A thermal printer is a little bit more expensive than an inkjet printer, but you will never have to replace ink cartridges. This is because a thermal printer uses heat to selectively print on heat-reactive paper. The thermal printer I bought cost $79.99, but I bought it before I started the business for an unrelated reason, so it wasn't included in my startup cost. And even though this method is a little bit more expensive starting out, it is much cheaper per order. Factoring the cost of an A6 envelope, 2 thermal labels, and the discounted postage, it comes to a little over 83 cents. This means that in just 183 orders, you'll break even versus the inkjet printer. And every order past then is just saving you money. Also, the reason I factor in 2 thermal labels is because one will be used on the outside of the envelope and the other one will be tucked in as the packing slip. The last method is the most expensive in terms of startup costs. This would be using a LaserJet printer, number 10 envelope, and the self-inking return address stamp. Typically, LaserJet printers are much more expensive than inkjet printers, but you save money in the long run because the toner used for LaserJet printers is typically much cheaper per page than the ink used in inkjet printers. Also, LaserJet printers tend to last a lot longer than inkjet printers and can print out quicker. Just to cover my bases, the shipping method for LaserJet printers is the exact same as inkjet printers. The HP brand LaserJet printer I found on Amazon was $149. There are cheaper options, but what I found out was that the cheaper the printer, the more expensive the toner. So I chose this one to compare. The cost per order, factoring in the printer paper, the toner used, the envelope, and the stamp, comes out to just under 83 cents. So this technically is the cheapest, but it's only cheaper than the thermal label by about half a penny. So to break even with a thermal label method, it would require a daunting 13,311 orders. However, breaking even with an inkjet printer would require a much smaller 945 orders. So the minuscule savings of a LaserJet printer doesn't quite offset the additional upfront costs, in my opinion. Also, the time savings and being able to peel off a label and just slap it on an envelope are 2 big reasons why I choose thermal labels. Alright, time to get away from numbers and dive into my shipping process. Oh wait, just 1 second. Before we dive into my shipping process, I wanted to announce that our online shop is now live. We currently have Japanese booster boxes for Battle Partners and Terastal Festival in stock. So shop at hdcollectibles.com. There will be a link in the description. Also, I'd like to take this time to thank you for all the support I've received. I read all of your comments, and all the love and support you guys have shown me really means the world to me. And speaking of showing support, if you found this video helpful or informative at all, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help. Thank you. Alright, let's get into how I ship orders. For this, we'll be bringing in an overhead cam. The first step of shipping orders is actually optional, in my opinion. Obviously, TCGplayer recommends printing out packing slips for every order, but if an order just contains one card or multiple of the same card, I just skip printing out the packing slip. But for this, let's just assume we printed out the packing slip. This will represent the packing slip right here. After you have the packing slip ready to go, it'll tell you what cards you need for your order. Once you've found the correct cards that belong to the order, make sure that they're properly sleeved. If it's just bulk cards, I generally put 5 to 7 cards in one sleeve. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards here. So I'll usually just take those and put them all into a single sleeve. I don't tend to put much more than that in a single sleeve because then the sleeve starts to bend weird. And for any hits, I typically sleeve them individually. Now, if there's hits worth less than $2, I typically take them and put them back to back in the same penny sleeve. Now, after we have all the cards sleeved, I go ahead and slip them in a TC Guardian shipping protector. Like I said earlier, I absolutely love this product, and I've actually gotten compliments on how everything's packaged, in part due to me using these. And if you're interested in getting some for yourself, be sure to use the affiliate link down below for 5% off your order. The TC Guardian website states that each protector can hold up to 11 Magic the Gathering cards in a single penny sleeve, but Magic the Gathering cards are typically a little bit thinner than Pokemon cards, so you can't fit quite as many Pokemon cards in a protector. And this is typically the most cards I can fit in a TC Guardian protector, 7 cards in one sleeve and 2 in another. So you might be able to fit 10 cards in one sleeve if you want to push it, but I try not to stuff these things too full because I don't want them to bend inside. Once our TC Guardian protector is filled, we go ahead and bend the flap and then come in with a sticker label to seal the flap shut. And then we take our sealed protector and we slip it inside a team bag here. If I'm shipping a large order that requires tracking, I can usually fit 2 TC Guardian protectors in one team bag, but if I'm just shipping a bunch of cheap cards through regular postage, I only put 1 protector per team bag. This is so the envelope doesn't get too thick for USPS's automatic sorters. Now is also the perfect time to go ahead and include a little thank you note if you want. When you're first starting out on TCGplayer, it can be really helpful to get feedback. And then we'll seal it. You'll want a tight seal on this to prevent anything from shifting around. After that's all sealed up, we take the team bag and the packing slip, if there is one, and put it in to an envelope. If you're just shipping a single team bag, it makes it really easy. You just stick it to one side like so. I never tape anything down and I've never had a problem. However, if you're shipping 2 team bags, I would put 1 on either side. That way it can still bend in the middle and get through the sorters. And so far, I haven't ran into an issue where I need to ship out more cards than that on an order that doesn't require tracking. But you might be able to fit 4 TC Guardian protectors, 2 on either side. The only issue is that you want to stay below 1/4 inch in thickness per the USPS guidelines. Speaking of which, if you use an envelope other than an A6 envelope or a number 10 envelope, I would recommend checking out USPS's guide to envelope sizes for letters. I can just give you a quick TLDR though. The minimum length for an envelope is 5 inches. The maximum length for an envelope is 11.5 inches. The minimum height for an envelope is 3.5 inches, and the maximum height for an envelope is 6 1/8 inch. There's also a thickness and a weight limit to qualify for letter pricing. The maximum thickness that a letter can be is 1/4 inch, and the maximum weight is 3 ounces. Of course, a forever stamp only covers 1 ounce, so you'll need to use additional ounce stamps or additional forever stamps if you want to overpay to cover anything more than 1 ounce. A6 envelopes like this guy right here are 6.5 inches long and 4 3/4 inches tall, which fits perfectly within USPS's shipping guide. Now, my shipping process does change a little bit for anything over $20 though, because TCGplayer recommends tracking for those orders. So instead of an envelope, I usually take this team bag and I'll slip it into a bubble mailer. Now, if it's a single card worth more than $20 or a bunch of cards worth more than $50, I'll take this 4x8 bubble mailer, seal it up by taking this off, but I don't want to ruin this bubble mailer, and then I'll put it inside this 6x10 bubble mailer for added protection. So now you have the penny sleeve, the TC Guardian protector, the team bag, and 2 layers of bubble mailers all protecting your cards. Now we're finally on to the last step. Once everything's packaged all nicely, I'll take it and I'll pop it onto the scale here to weigh it. So right there, it's 1.6 ounces. You always have to round up to the nearest ounce. So I would enter 2 ounces into the weight field on stamps.com. I will then go through the process and print out a shipping label, which I usually then place right here over the flap. It'll have all the shipping information on it, and the reason I put it over the flap is because 1, it makes a nice presentation, and 2, it further deters tampering. It's much harder to open something and make it look like it wasn't opened when there's a shipping label right over the flap. If you want a step-by-step tutorial on how to set up and use stamps.com, let me know down in the comments. Now you know how I package my orders to avoid damage-related returns and refunds. But if you're new to TCGplayer, be sure to check out this Ultimate Beginner's Guide video. It's packed with tons of useful tips and tricks. I'll catch you guys next time.